Good morning, everyone. You're welcome to this morning's webinar. So today we're just here to inform you about the various energy and efficiency audits supports that are now available for SMEs. We will keep it to the hour, so I know we're a couple of minutes late starting. We just wanted to let everyone join. We're joined today by the representatives from the organisations that are offering these supports to SMEs. So we have Kathleen O'Regan from Enterprise Ireland, and we have Helen Williams from SEAI. So I should have introduced myself. My name is Mel Gavin. I work with IT Sligo. I'm joined here with technical support from Paul McNamara as part of our team. And we work as mentors in the Sustainable Energy Communities programme, which is run and supported by SEAI. So that's part of our work. So today I'm going to do the brief introduction. I'm going to say a little bit about the Sustainable Energy Communities programme and about the supports within that, which are energy master plans, which generally include some energy audits. I'm going to hand over then to Kathleen O'Regan from Enterprise Ireland, and she is going to outline some of the supports from the local enterprise offices, from Enterprise Ireland and from IDA. We'll then have Helen Williams from the SEAI, who's going to speak on the recently launched support scheme for energy audits. And we will have a questions and answers session after that, in whatever time is left. Now, what I'd ask is that there's too many people to have an open mic questions and answers. So if you would use the chat function to ask your questions, you can start that immediately. Myself, Paul, and a colleague of mine, Stevie, will be keeping an eye on that. We'll answer what we can during the event, and then we'll ask some of the speakers to perhaps answer some questions in that Q&A session towards the end. We'll answer everything we can within the time we have. So please be patient with us. Okay, first of all, we'll just talk about the SEC program, the Sustainable Energy Community Program. This is one of many SEAI schemes, but it's aimed at supporting communities. It's specifically about capacity building, but it does give you better access to some of the capital grants, and it helps you plan for what is right for your community. The definition of an SEC or a community is essentially everyone working together across the community to adapt the hierarchy of sustainable energy here, which is to use less by being efficient and reducing waste, for for the remaining energy that you use as clean as possible, and also to be smart and innovative about how we use energy. The program, the SEC program, is structured in these 3 steps. So the starting point is to learn, and then you move on to planning, and then you're ready to do projects. So this is a fairly structured approach to any initiative or any project. The plan stage then comes with funding for an energy master plan. So this a community can avail of between 10,000 and 25,000, depending on the scale of the community, to carry out an energy master plan. So you can use this funding to hire a consultant to help you with this. The purpose of the energy master plan is to establish the baseline of how energy is used at the moment, and also to include an assessment of renewable energy resources. So the baseline of energy use should provide information on the breakdown of how energy is used in homes, in the different sectors, in the business sectors, in the public sector, and broken down by energy type. You know, how much fossil fuels are used, what types of fossil fuels are used, what kind of costs they have for the community, and what kind of CO2 impact they have. The assessment of renewable energy resources can be everything from building scale renewable energy up to larger community scale renewable energy. And from these investigations and this research then is to identify key opportunities that would work for your community, and a roadmap or a strategy to take some of these projects forward. Now, it's quite common for a lot of our communities, a lot of the SECs, to include local businesses in their energy master plan, and there's good reason for that. local businesses are an important part of the community. They're providing local employment, they're providing local services. Without them, many people would have to move away for work, or you have to go elsewhere to try and avail of the services that they provide. So it is quite common to have those elements in there. But now that there are, and up to now, very often the SECs have been using some of their energy master plan funding to provide these energy audits to local businesses. Now, for any one energy master plan, it was only ever a couple of businesses that could be included, because all of the money can't simply be spent on energy audits. But now there are these various supports which have come online in the recent year and recent months, which the SMEs can avail of. And we would encourage that the SMEs still work with their local SEC and still try and include their information in the community energy master plan. You can keep out the commercial stuff, you can keep out the price you pay, but opportunities that are relevant to your business would probably be relevant to other businesses as well in the area. So that kind of information is very useful to share. So with that, I'm going to hand over now to Kathleen O'Regan to start talking about some of these support schemes that are available. Okay, Kathleen.
Okay, thanks Mel, and I'll just share my screen first of all before we get going. Yeah. So thanks Mel for the introduction, and thanks for the invite today to talk about climate action funding supports that are available to business. So I'm going to speak about 4 supports: Green for Micro, Climate Action Voucher, Green Start and Green Plus. I'll briefly speak about what a green transformation journey looks like for our company, and I'll show you other supports and resources that are available to help companies on their green transformation journey. So starting off with Green for Micro. Green for Micro is a free local enterprise office pilot programme. It is open to all micro enterprise companies with up to 10 employees that are trading greater than 6 months and have a turnover of greater than €30,000 per annum in either 2019 or 2020. Green for Micro is 2 days of free mentoring or consulting over 6 to 12 weeks. Companies apply for the support online on the local enterprise office website, and if the application is successful, the local enterprise office advisor and client will choose an appropriate expert from either the local mentor panel or the Enterprise Ireland Green Directory, and the project can then commence. Upon project completion, the final report and invoice are submitted by the consultant to the relevant local enterprise office, and the local enterprise office will then pay the consultant. A wide range of activities, as shown here in this slide, can be supported under the Green for Micro programme. And on the online application form, applicants are asked to select their main area of interest from the list of activities shown here. But companies may actually get support in more than one area if time allows. So the main outcome of the resource efficiency assessment and renewable energy potential is a register of opportunities. So the consultant will identify resource, emission and cost savings opportunities and will provide information on the cost and the payback of the opportunities identified. Resources include energy, water and materials. Environmental management. The consultant will mentor and advise the company on how to implement an environmental management system to measure, manage and report based on a Plan, Do, Check, Act philosophy, known as PDCA. Carbon footprint or life cycle assessment. The consultant will mentor and advise on how to assess the carbon footprint or the broader environmental footprint of your product or service or your organisation. Circular economy, which means looking beyond the current take, make, waste linear economic model to a circular model that minimises waste and pollution by keeping products and materials in use and regenerating then natural systems. So the consultant will help prepare a plan to identify and develop circular economy ideas for a more circular product, process or service. Eco-design. The consultant will provide mentoring and advice in the innovative design for sustainability. So for example, designing a product from concept, taking into account sustainability. Sustainable strategy. The consultant will provide mentoring or advice on the development of a sustainable strategy, and this can include aligning to national frameworks such as the Board BR and Green Food Programme or global sustainability frameworks. Green procurement or green tenders. The consultant will provide advice on integrating sustainability into the procurement and tendering process. Sustainable logistics, the consultant will provide advice to measurably reduce greenhouse gas emissions and air pollutants and improve fuel efficiency. Sustainable packaging, the consultant will help with developing more sustainable, innovative packaging. And finally, then communications, whereby the consultant will provide advice on internal and external sustainability communications, messaging and reporting. More information can be found on the local enterprise office website. So moving on then to the Climate Action Voucher, which is a 100% funded grant to engage an expert from the Enterprise Ireland Directory of Green Service Providers. The voucher is eligible to Enterprise Ireland and Údarás client companies that are HPSUs, SMEs and large companies. The project cost is €1,800, which equates to €900 per day, and the assignment period is over six weeks. Companies must select a service provider from the Enterprise Ireland Directory of Service Providers. Eligible costs, or eligible activities, should I say, under the Climate Action Voucher are resource efficiency assessment, renewable energy potential, introduction to corporate sustainability, and introduction to circular economy thinking. The main outcome of the 2-day resource efficiency assessment and renewable energy potential is a register of opportunities, similar to the Green for Micro. The main outcome for introduction to corporate sustainability and introduction to circular economy thinking is an initial action plan for the company. More information on the Climate Action Voucher can be found on the Enterprise Ireland Climate Action Voucher webpage, where you can download also the Climate Action Voucher assignment guidelines, and these outline in detail the application and claims process, and also the eligible activities in more details. Moving on then to Green Start. The Green Start project cost is €6,300 and the grant is 80%. So Green Start is a training and capability building support. The eligible cost of the service provider fee, which is 7 days at €900 per day. The assignment is generally carried out over 3 to 6 months, and it's available to HPSUs, SMEs and large companies that are client companies of Enterprise Ireland, Údarás and IDA, and it will soon be available to local enterprise office client companies. Companies may pick a service provider from the Enterprise Ireland Directory of Green Service Providers. However, this is optional, and if they're not on the directory, they will be approved as part of the application process. Under a Green Start, a company can implement a basic environmental management system or an energy management system or carbon management system, or they can look at water stewardship based on PDCA, which is Plan, Do, Check Act. Or a company may carry out, a range of different activities, short-term projects, similar as outlined for the Green for Micro, but in more detail. So life cycle assessment, sustainable packaging, sustainable logistics, etc. A company could potentially start off with a Climate Action Voucher or a Green for Micro to carry out a resource efficiency assessment, and then follow on with a Green Start to help implement, an energy or environmental or carbon, management system, and develop further their decarbonisation strategy. Or a company could follow on, for example, to look at the life cycle assessment, which is looking at the environmental impacts of their products or their service or their organisation. Green Start or the Climate Action Voucher can also potentially be used to scope out a larger Green Plus training project. So more information on the Green Start can be found on the Enterprise Ireland website, including the Green Start assignment guidelines and also case studies. So taking things then to the next level is Green Plus. The Green Plus project cost is up to 100,000 and the grant is up to 50%. The eligible cost element is the service provider training and advisory costs, up to 10 project team member salary costs, and training course fees for specialised external courses that support the project goals. The assignment period is generally over 6 to 12 months, and it's available to SME and large companies that are clients of Enterprise Ireland, Údarás and IDA. Similar to Green Start, the directory is optional, and a progress report is required with the claim of all supports. Companies can potentially avail of up to 3 Green Starts and also up to 3 Green Pluses, but there is a limit of 3. Eligible projects under Green Plus include training a company internal project team to align to an internationally recognised standard, such as ISO 14001, which is the environmental management standard, ISO 50001, an international energy management standard, ISO 1464, which is a carbon management standard, the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, and the Alliance there for Water Stewardship. So they're just examples of standards that companies can align to. It is expected with a Green Plus that a company will align to an international standard or to a sustainability framework or disclosure platform, such as the SME Climate Hub, Science Based Targets, the Carbon Disclosure Platform, Global Resources Institute, and the TCFD, which is the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures. And companies can get advice to help develop long-term sustainability plans. So a range of activities can be supported, similar to the Green Start, under Green Plus, such as life cycle assessment, communications, employee and customer engagement, sustainable strategy. More information can be found on the Enterprise Ireland website, including the Green Plus assignment guidelines. I've mentioned a few times the Green Service Providers Directory, so this is just a screenshot from the directory. You'll see that green service providers are listed on the left, and along the top then we have functional experiences, and there's about 20 different functional experiences ranging from carbon management to employee and customer engagement to water stewardship. So if you scroll across the right, contact details such as including the name, email and phone number for each of the service providers will be given. So we do advise companies to talk to at least 3 potential service providers. This pie chart, or I have 2 pie charts here, and they just show the breakdown of client needs for Green Start and Green Plus applications and inquiries that we have received this year to date. So the pie chart on the left shows client needs, and the pie chart on the right shows the breakdown by sector. So for Green Plus, typically we would, because they're quite substantial projects, we would see companies looking at multiple different activities, from energy to water to strategy to carbon footprinting to communications. So you'll see that there's a range of activities that companies are availing of support for: energy, water, environmental management, strategy, communications, carbon footprinting. And then on the right, we see the breakdown of sectors. So I suppose no surprises in that construction and food are the 2 biggest sectors, followed by engineering. But we also have applications and inquiries from a range of different sectors, including software and services, packaging, life sciences, consumer products, and electronics. This slide shows quotes from companies that have availed of the Climate Action Voucher, Green for Micro, Green Start and Green Plus support. So Topform are a company that are based in Galway, and they manufacture worktops, and they use the Climate Action Voucher to carry out a resource efficiency assessment. Ginny's Bakery in Leitrim use Green for Micro to carry out a resource efficiency assessment as well, and it also helped them to put together a Board BIA Origin Green plan. Passive Sills, who are based in Cork, manufacture windowsills, and they use Green Start to understand how to carry out a life cycle assessment of their products and of their organisation. Bidix One in Dublin have a leading digital property investment platform, and Bidix One used Green Start to develop their carbon strategy. Danone and Wexford and Wyatt Nutrition in Limerick both availed of Green Plus. Danone availed of Green Plus to train their internal energy team to align to ISO 50001, the energy management standard, and Wyatt Nutrition to align to the Alliance for Water Stewardship standard. So on the Enterprise Ireland website, we have a link to case studies, and on the local enterprise office website, there's also a number of case studies there. We also have links to webinars that we held earlier on in the year for the food sector, for the manufacturing sector, for ICT and services. So there's some really good keynote speakers on these webinars, including Origin Green, Lidl, Amazon Web Services, Business in the Community, and AIB. And there's interesting panel discussions from EI client companies that have already availed of the supports. So what does a green transformation journey look like? Well, commitment and vision of senior management are needed. A team should be formed with team members from across the organisation that will drive change. And the next steps then are generally to gather data and set up systems to profile resource use. So for example, energy, water and materials. To create action plans across the business. So for example, operations, products, packaging. And to monitor and review the impact of actions. So that is to implement a management system based on Plan, Do, Check, Act. Sustainability should be part of a company strategy, and there should be a clear understanding of customer needs and market drivers. It should be viewed as an opportunity So how to build a competitive advantage based on credentials. And companies should partner with others. So for example, industry suppliers, technologies. And we often see companies working with their competitors when it comes to sustainability. Companies should communicate their results and targets with transparency internally and externally. The diagram on the left is from the Greenhouse Gas Protocol, which some of you may be familiar with, and it shows scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions. So scope 1 is the fossil fuel that your company uses. Scope 2 is the electricity your company purchases, and scope 3 then is everything else. Most companies will look at their own operations first, scope 1 and 2, and then will look at their value chain upstream and downstream, which is scope 3. For the majority of companies, 70 to 80% of their carbon footprint comes from their value chain. So for example, purchased goods and services, use of sold products or services, transportation and distribution, employee commuting, and not the actual operations. Calculating a carbon footprint for an organisation that includes the main emission resources is straightforward. However, calculating the carbon emissions of an organisation upstream and downstream in their value chain can be a complex task. This slide shows the emission split for scope 1, 2 and 3 for selected industries. So on the left, raw material industries, you will see most of the emissions for cement, steel, mining and agriculture come from scope 1, their operations. And on the right, end products, for example, fast-moving consumer goods, fashion, food, automotive, most of the emissions come from scope 3, the supply chain. So depending on your product, for example, if it's food, approximately 83% of the carbon footprint is coming from the supply chain and not the operations. So it's important for organisations to understand their emissions profile and their carbon footprint so they can focus on the right areas or hotspots. It's no point a business spending all their time and resources on improvement activities that only account for less than 5% of their emissions. Here are 2 examples of carbon footprint labelling on 2 different products. So Puka tea bags and a Logitech mouse. So Logitech have actually committed to label all of their products by 2025, and other companies are starting to make similar commitments, and it appears to be the direction of travel for a lot of different consumer products. So for example, Unilever have committed to labelling 70,000 of their products. Companies are also looking at the environmental impact or footprint, should I say, of their products and services. And this is based on a LCA, which is a life cycle assessment, and is much broader than the carbon footprint. It is assessed against up to 20 different environmental impact categories, including carbon. So the scope needs to be defined at the outset of carrying out a life cycle assessment. As shown here in the diagram, it can be cradle to cradle, cradle to grave, or cradle to gate. So a life cycle assessment can help make a product or a service more sustainable by highlighting the hotspots to focus on. And they can be used then for marketing products, and there are different marketing and labelling schemes. So moving on then to other supports, this table shows the lean, strategic consultancy and digitalisation supports, and a link is given for each of the offers. And the table shows the companies that the supports are potentially available to and the funding details. So the lean offer is open to Enterprise Ireland, Údarás and IDA clients. Lean for Micro is open to local enterprise office clients. Operational Excellence is open to Enterprise Ireland and Údarás clients. Operational Excellence includes capability building, business innovation and capital investment. Strategic Consultancy is open to Enterprise Ireland SME clients, and a new digitalisation voucher is open to Enterprise Ireland SME and large clients. I won't go into the details of each of these supports, and the table is just to show you the other supports that are potentially available to help companies enable a green business transformation. This table shows the RD&I supports. Again, a link is given to each of the offers, who they're available to and funding details. So you will see the Exploring Innovation offer is open to Enterprise Ireland clients. The max eligible expenditure is €70,000 with a grant of 50%. The max eligible expenditure under Agile Innovation is 300,000, and the max eligible expenditure under R&D is greater than 300,000. The table shows you the range of RD&I supports that are potentially available, and it is expected that the green supports, so the voucher, the green for micro, the green starter, the green plus, may lead to RD&I supports. This table shows you the supports for third level collaboration, who they're available to and the funding details. And again, each offer has a link to more information. So for example, the innovation voucher can be a 100% funded €5,000 voucher or a co-funded €10,000 voucher, where the company contributes 50% to assist a company explore a business opportunity or a problem with a registered knowledge provider, for example, to explore a business model or product or process or service development. I've included other supports here and resources, and in no particular order, but starting with the SEAI. SEAI have a range of business supports, and Helen Williams will talk about the Energy Audit support. But you'll see that they do have a range of supports, so I definitely recommend checking the SEAI website. Also, on the EPA website, there's a lot of information in relation to climate change and circular economy and their Green Enterprise Fund. There's an online resource efficiency tool, and there's different greening resources for business. So, for example, it's tips for greening your office space. SkillNet includes climate-ready SkillNet, green tech, lean and green skill nets. I've given links to technology centres, the Technology Gateway Network, and the SFI research centres, and Circular, which is the natural platform for circular manufacturing. NTI, which is Knowledge Transfer Ireland, they have a new directory of research and development and innovation supports for enterprise. So this is a comprehensive guide for companies to collaborate with state-funded research. There's also huge opportunities in terms of European funding under Horizon Europe EIC Accelerator Programme and the EU LIFE Programme. MODIS is a Circular Economy Innovation Award and mentoring for SMEs. Irish Water have business conservation tips on their website, and they run a water stewardship programme for large water users. Water Stewardship Ireland is a platform for organisations to exchange ideas and foster new thinking around water challenges. The chambers, and for example, Dublin Chamber and Cork Chamber run sustainability training programs and workshops. And finally, I've included Climate Jargon Buster. And this is a website, or it's a PDF that you can download, and it explains in simple English and plain English different terms that are often used in the climate action, I suppose, kind of terminology. So finally then, for more information on the Climate Action Voucher, Green Start and Green Plus, go to globalambition.ie/climate action, or contact your Enterprise Ireland Development Advisor, or email green@enterpriseireland.com. If you're a client of the local enterprise office, check out the local enterprise office website or contact your local enterprise office. And likewise, if you're a client of IDA or Údarás, contact either your IDA relationship manager, or there's an email address there, idaireland@ida.ie, or contact your Údarás project executive or email Údarás. So thank you very much, and I look forward to answering any questions that you might have at the end. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kathleen. Okay, I know there are a couple of questions. We'll try and fit them in at the end. But I would like to just bring Helen Williams in now from SEAI to talk about the support scheme for energy audits. Hi, Helen.
Hi, thanks very much. I'll just share my screen here, and then. All right, is that working okay?
Yeah, that's good.
Great stuff. All right, brilliant. Thanks. Thanks, Kathleen. That's great, and I hopefully sort of segues, I think, quite nicely into what I was hoping to talk to you all about. So yeah, I'm from SEAI, Sustainable Energy Authority, and I work in the business and industry team, primarily at the moment with SMEs. So I'm going to talk to you about the support scheme for energy audits. We do love an acronym, unfortunately, so it's a little bit of a mouthful to say, but it's a very straightforward concept. At least it's a €2,000 voucher for an energy audit. So it's unlike a sort of maybe our more traditional grants that we've offered through SEAI. You get the voucher, you get the audit, and then SEAI pay the auditor the €2,000. So it's for small and medium enterprises. I'm sure you all know now, but just as a reminder, that means fewer than 250 employees and a turnover of less than 50 million, or a balance sheet of less than €43 million. In terms of the criteria, again, they're fairly straightforward, I think. You do have to be registered in Ireland. You do have to have a valid CRO number. And you do, of course, have to be tax compliant. The only sort of unusual requirement, I guess, is that you do have to be spending at least €10,000 a year on energy. The reason for that is really a value for money thing, because it's an energy audit and it's a high quality energy audit costing €2,000. There's not really an awful lot of point in going down this route if you're spending less than that. Now, obviously, Kathleen has outlined for you a lot of alternatives to getting a specific energy audit, which may suit your business better. So this really is for businesses who are spending that bit more on energy. Because that's the focus area. You know, it's not a life cycle assessment, it's not a carbon footprint, it's not any of those other things. So that's I suppose the different aspect to it there. And now the auditors have to be registered energy auditors. So that's an SEAI list. It's a register we've had running for years now, and it's on our website. It's fairly easy to navigate, and I would say about half the auditors on that register have agreed to sign up to this scheme. So there's very simply just a column there that you just need to check, and there'll be a little tick box there for whether they're participating in this particular scheme. So to apply, the first step really should be to choose your auditor. You can do this later if you want, but it makes most sense to do it at the beginning. So as I said, we have this list online. It's just an Excel sheet, just pops up, and then you can scroll through that. You can see where the auditor is located. You can see what qualifications they have, what areas of expertise they have. It's worth bearing in mind they all have to meet certain fairly stringent criteria as regards to their years of experience, their professional qualifications, etc., etc. So you do know that whoever you choose, you are going to get a high quality audit. It's just a question of what suits you best, what suits them, and usually in terms of location, it's obviously the big one. So once you've done that, ring the auditor up and confirm that they're able to do the work for you. And at that time as well, it's also worth confirming the cost. I said at the beginning that the voucher is for €2,000. Most of the audits will cost €2,000. However, if you do have a very large site, or if you're spending an awful lot on energy, a lot more than the 10,000, you may find out that the audit's actually going to cost more than that. SEAI won't be able to pay the difference, so that will be up to you as the client to make up the difference there. So of course, in a situation like that, we would recommend that you do call a couple of auditors, get 2 or 3 quotes and go with whoever suits you best. So that's the only sort of little bit of admin you might want to just do at the beginning there. Once you've done that, you can just register and apply online. I've got the link there for you, or you can also apply through our website, which redirects to that portal. It's called the application portal. Once you put in your information, and then the voucher is just issued to you automatically via email. So there's no sort of waiting around process. The longest bit is really filling out the form, and that shouldn't take too long if you have all the info to hand. I'll talk to you in the next couple of slides about what sort of information you need to have on you, but it is quite simple. Then once you've got the voucher issued, you can then ring up the auditor and arrange for the site visit. So that's when they come around and literally walk through the site with you, or with, say, a facilities manager or somebody who knows the site fairly well and knows where the energy is being used, what processes are occurring on site. Now, the site visit can vary in length. For the smallest sites, it would probably be around half a day. If you do have a very large or very complex site with a lot of different processes going on, it could be maybe 2 days. Once that's happened, the auditor will also get some information from you around your bills, your energy bills, and any issues you've had, any concerns you have, obviously regarding energy or the cost of the energy. Once that's happened, the auditor will then write and issue you with the energy audit report. And then at that point, they'll also submit that to SEAI, and then we'll pay them for the audit. We'll review the report and pay them. But sort of from your perspective as the client, the loop is closed once the auditor has issued you with the report. So the report itself, we've designed this to try and be as, I suppose, non-technical and as easy to understand as possible. The front page looks a bit like this. I've just sort of blacked out the company name there and the photo, but as you can see, it's fairly easy to understand. It just really has a comparison with your current energy use. we usually talk about energy use in terms of the cost to you and also the emissions, because we know that that's probably what you're interested more in that than the kilowatt hours. I certainly am anyway. So that sort of little blue table at the top there is your current and potential energy performance based on various different criteria, such as your energy management systems, your building fabrics, your walls, your insulation, etc. And it's really just a very simple star system, I suppose, from 1 to 5 stars. So it just gives you a sense of where you can actually make improvements, because you won't be able to do everything. That the limitations of the building themselves mean you won't be able to have a sort of a full 5-star amazing building at the end, but there are definitely is usually a huge area for improvement. And then those graphs there, again, that's just showing your current and potential energy spend and your current and potential emissions from energy. So again, just gives you an indication of what you can achieve if you do implement the recommended actions. And those recommended actions then are detailed in the table below at the bottom there. Again, shows the impacts that they like to have, and also points you in the direction of where you might be able to get support, either grant support or even just technical information from either ourselves at SEAI or from an external group. So the report itself then, after the energy action plan, so it includes the fairly standard. Those of you familiar with energy audits won't be surprised by anything there. There's a bills analysis, there's a look at your existing energy use, your energy management. So that's really around less about the technical aspects, more about the way you use energy, things like where or not energy awareness is communicated and things like that. And we also, the last section has a section on renewables readiness. So we look specifically here at whether or not solar PV, solar photovoltaic, so generating electricity from the power of the sun, and the SSRH, which is the support scheme for renewable heat. That's another SEAI scheme. I will talk about that at the end, and that's about renewable heat, so alternatives to fossil fuel for heating. So specifically, that's heat pumps and biomass. I won't go into it in huge detail here, but just to say that the purpose of the audit, I suppose, is to set you up for those actions, because whilst an energy audit is great, essential, in fact, if you are serious about saving energy, it obviously doesn't save energy by itself. It is about the action that you take next. So we've tried to develop the report so that it makes it very clear what you need to do for the next steps. So I hope this won't be too dry, but I am just going to talk you through the application process a little bit, just so that you know what to expect. So as I said, it's all done online. I had the link back there. You can go through our website. The landing page looks like this. It's very simple. Sign in, register. So you just click register, and then you select your user type. So for this scheme, you're going to be non-domestic. Okay, the domestic option is for the solar PV scheme. That's a separate scheme. So you want to make sure you're non-domestic, put in your email address, and then put in a password, confirm that, and then click register. The first page is about building your profile. So that's very straightforward. It's really just your contact information. So this is for me, made up, obviously. So you fill this section in first with your name and the contact details. So I would put there in your business address is what you want to have in there. Then you click submit at the bottom here. And then once you've done that, and it is a slightly backwards way of doing it, I realise that, then you confirm your email. The order doesn't matter hugely, but that's the most logical way of doing it. You'll then get the email coming through to your inbox. You click the link in there, and that just makes sure that you're fully on the system now. Once you've done that, you should be automatically redirected to this business public body details page. And this, I realise if you're watching this on a small screen, you probably can't see this. Apologies for that. It's not really necessary. You can obviously have a look on the real thing, as it were. But here you're putting in more details about the organisation that's getting the audit. Okay, so in terms of numbers you want to have to hand, you want to have your CRO number, you'll want to have your tax clearance access number and your VAT ID. So have those to hand, put those in, and then you'll also need a little bit of information about your business, but nothing too complicated. It's just really confirming that you are an SME. So your number of employees within a band, so less than 50 or 50 to 249, and then confirmation that your balance sheet and your turnover don't exceed the SME thresholds. We'll also ask for your sector information, and then there's just a couple of declarations at the bottom. This scheme is under de minimis, so you do just need to confirm that you haven't exceeded the de minimis threshold of 200,000 in the past 3 years in order to avail this scheme. Again, I won't go into huge amounts of detail there, but if you've had de minimis funding, you'll know it basically. So you just need to confirm that. The other question there is just around the number of facilities you have. The reason for that is we don't really want you to get multiple audits that all tell you the same bit of information. So if, for example, you have a small chain of, say 5 corner shops that are all kind of the same, we don't need 5 different audits, to tell you that. So we're just asking that if you do have multiple sites, more than 3 sites, maybe just let us know beforehand, and we'll maybe discuss a way of taking a representative sample when it comes to the audits. So if you have a small shop and a petrol pump and a cafe, fine, they can all get an audit. That makes total sense. But if you have 5, or whatever, that are all basically the same sort of building, we'd suggest we just take a sample of maybe 1 or 2 of those, because the info will be exactly the same. So you submit all that information, and then you can see it's locked here. So that means you can't amend that afterwards. If you do make a mistake, just give us a shout and we can do that for you on the back end. But you click submit, it all gets complete. And then you click the home button here if you're not automatically redirected. And this is where you actually create your application. So you click create your new application, and then you fill in the information about the specific location where you want the audit to take place. So this is where you'll need your MPRN number. From your electricity bill, we'll have that on it. You can press the validate button, and then the address will automatically complete for you. So you fill in all that info, you select the auditor there. Oh, sorry, sure, I'll just go back. Yeah, you fill in the name of the auditing company and the auditor that you want to that's going to carry out the audit for you. Then you click submit, and then assuming you've ticked all the right boxes, then you'll just get the email coming automatically to your email address, to your inbox. And as I said, at that point you ring up the auditor and away you go. So it is quite straightforward. To be honest with you, the application portal is perhaps a little clunky, so we're trying to do some workarounds there to make it a bit more of a smooth ride. But we do have a great help desk, and they will be able to talk you through it if you do get stuck. As I said, you can apply, find out more information. Do make sure, obviously, you read the T's and C's. I do have to say that, and make sure you read through the rules and everything. But there's nothing there to catch you out, obviously. It's just for your own benefit. If you want more information about this, give me a shout. I'm at helen.williams@seai.ie, or there's our business inbox as well. We'll be able to give you more info. And I would just say as well, we have an excellent new module on the Energy Academy about energy audits. I hope a number of you are familiar with the Energy Academy already. If not, then sign up today. Don't delay. It's fantastic. It's free, online, e-learning, so self-paced, so you can do as many or as few modules as you want. Great range of topics there. Some are quite technical, but there's a lot there for the non-technically inclined. I would include myself in that, I have to say. A lot about just getting to grips with the energy terminology, so you know your kilowatt hours from your joules, from your gigawatt hours. You can understand your bills a bit better, so you know what you're talking about when you are going out to energy auditors or contractors. You'll actually have the language you need to talk to them about what you need in your own business. And this one's about how to run effective behavioural change campaigns, about if you're interested in solar PV, you can get a good assessment, sort of a self-assessment through there. It's brilliant. So do take a look, because it really is, knowledge is power, as they say, and it should, as I said, just gives you the tools to be able to know what you're talking about a bit better. I've certainly found it very useful anyway, so I hope you would as well. And that's it really. Listen, I've seen the time, so I won't talk anymore. I did just pop in the chat there a link to our we have a sort of summary page on our SEAI website with a list of all the different financial supports that are available. Do take a read of that as well. And as I said, give me a shout, or give the business guys a shout, and we'll be able to talk you through what's most suitable for you. But I will stop sharing now. I will be quiet, and I will hand back over to Mel.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Sorry, my connection dropped for a second.
Yeah, I can hear you,
Can
Mel.
you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
got you now.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Helen, for that. Just before we get to some of the questions, I will just say that I've helped a couple of businesses with the SEAI application online, and what is actually very useful, Helen has talked through some of the steps there, but there is a guide you can download that talks you through those steps as well, and that was very useful. And even the first time that I sat with the business, we got through that and got the application submitted. Okay, we will go to some of the questions now. First of all, Stevie had a question in relation to the how limited this funding might be. In other words, is it first come, first served? So is that how the applications are processed? So Kathleen, I might just ask you first on that.
Yeah, no, so it's an open call. So there's a 10 million euro fund launch in April, which is the Climate Action Voucher, Green Start and Green Plus. It is envisaged that these supports will continue, so it's not a first come, first served basis. And companies, while they can avail of one Climate Action Voucher if they've one site, if they've more than one location, it can be potentially up to 3 at a maximum. And then with Green Start and Green Plus, it's potentially up to 3. So yeah, so there's plenty of support, I suppose, there to get that external expertise.
Okay. Helen, would you say the same?
Yeah, no issues here that we envisage as far as funding running out. Obviously, it's a fairly small amount of money going out of the door, so yeah, we're all set. Like is said, if you qualify for it, you'll get the voucher. No issues at all. There's no end date yet. We'll probably have a review of the scheme late next year, sort of towards the end of 2022. But we've been assured funding fine up until then, and I suspect that the department, the government department, will want us to keep going because it's obviously something that's very much on people's radars at the moment. So yeah, no issues there that we can see.
Okay. Depending on which part of the country the businesses are in, there may be less availability of consultants, or there may not be as many consultants that are operating that part. So, but I don't see that being an immediate problem in the short term. I'd imagine there are enough consultants who are willing to travel or in our locations to start this process.
Yeah, it's obviously a concern for, I think, for a lot of the in a lot of the energy space, especially for businesses. The domestic side, it's less of a concern, but even there as well, I think the upskilling and just making sure that we have enough bodies on the ground to actually go out and do the work is certainly it is an issue that I think we're all aware of, those of us working in that space. But yeah, I think in the short term, certainly we should be, fingers crossed, fine on that front.
Okay, we have a question from Aidan. What supports are available to other businesses like shops, hotels, pubs, and small sole trader tourism businesses in any SEC area? Now, Aidan, I'd hope that was perhaps answered in some of the presentations there. So depending on what scale, what size of SME you are, probably for some of the smaller ones, you're looking at the LEO supports. So there's a few in there. Kathleen, I'm right in saying that?
Yeah, so the local enterprise office Green for Micro programs, the eligibility there is up to 10 employees. So there's a range of obviously businesses and micro enterprises that can apply for that support. Then in relation to Enterprise Ireland or IDA or Údarás, companies do have to be a client company and exporting or with the potential to export. And then obviously SEAI have the the energy audit support for once the bills are greater than €10,000.
I think that's the qualifier then, Helen, for the SEI scheme, is that they can be small, they can be very small, but their energy cost needs to be sufficient.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah. It's and as I said, it's really it's just to assure you that you're getting value for money, really, from the not that it's costing you any money, but an audit does require some input from the client in terms of providing bills and doing the site walk around. And if you're spending less than 10,000, an audit of this quality, if that doesn't sound strangely big-headed, but an audit like this isn't really what you should be doing. You can, there are other options available to you if you're spending less than that. But in terms of employee size, that's fine. There's no limits there. It's about the energy. Yeah.
I think if you have, those smaller energy bills, but you're still something that you're motivated to do something about, probably the Energy Academy is a very good starting point.
I think so.
Modules,
yeah.
There's a good range of modules on there. There's modules that are aimed at different sectors, different technologies. So you can generally find a lot of useful information on there.
I think that's absolutely right. We also do have an introduction to energy management. It's an online workshop that we run for SMEs, and that's a fantastic sort of next step. If you've done a few modules on the Energy Academy, you're fairly kind of confident in that, but you just need a little help sort of consolidating and coming up with a formalized plan for energy management. It's specifically around that. So we're talking about really embedding energy management into your business practice. So it's about developing an energy action plan, coming up with a register of opportunities. I hope that doesn't sound too jargony, but it's basically like, how am I going to save energy? Let's come up with a plan for that and sort of structuring it. Because I think lots of clients we speak to have fantastic ideas and they're very keen, but it's just knowing where to start and just sort of formalizing that really. So yeah, the energy management workshop, again, it's on our website if you are interested. Feel free to sign up. They're online, just 2 1-hour sessions held usually about a week apart and run by an excellent contractor. So they've been very popular so far.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question from Seamus. Can a representative from a social enterprise avail of this funding / training and then report back to groups, businesses, organisations in their community? I suppose, Seamus, first of all, I'd say you're absolutely, it'd be great if you can report back to your local community. But I hope that the key question there is, can a social enterprise or not-for-profit avail of the funding? So, Kathleen, I might just ask for the supports you spoke of first.
No, so not under the Enterprise Ireland supports. Perhaps they would need to check with their local enterprise office in terms of eligibility there. So the criteria, as I said, is kind of up to 10 employees. So but I would advise if it fell within that remit, perhaps check with your local enterprise office. Okay,
and Helen, for the SEAI purposes?
Yeah, no, certainly for the support scheme for energy audits, no, you need to be a business, you need to be an SME. I suppose there's nothing to stop you applying on behalf of a business, but it is strictly for SMEs.
If you were a social enterprise that is an employer, that is employing.
That's fine. Yeah, okay. Certainly. If you can provide the only as long as you've got the CRO number, and that might be something we revisit next year anyway. But yeah, the CRO number is the key piece. But that's all you need. As long as you got that, you'll be fine.
Okay, thanks for that. Stevie has a question about the detail in the SEAI report. Is in the energy action plan that's received, is that sufficient then to go into a BEC grant scheme or a community grant scheme? Is that a sufficient level of detail?
Yes, I would say, like, obviously those schemes have their own application process, and I probably can't speak to those in a huge amount of detail because I don't work on either of those, but yeah, so you won't just automatically get fed into that loop. You do have to take the next step. You do have to then apply through that, but you will have a huge amount of information that will be necessary for those schemes. So I'd say it's necessary, but not sufficient, probably. You're going to need to put in a separate application for those, but the information you get from the audit report will be invaluable in actually making that application, and you will need that information anyway. You will need to know, you will need details about your energy spend and all the rest for those schemes. So yeah.
Okay, well, I might just put some context on that, and it actually lends itself to the next question. So Jerry had a question: what do companies do next when they actually have their audit? So the whole purpose of this really is to help companies identify what's right for them. What is the optimal measure that they could take? So obviously the next question companies will have is, can we get grant funding if we're going to, upgrade our building or install some renewable energy? So right now, the main scheme that is available through SEAI is the community grant, still often called the Better Energy Community Scheme. So to avail of that, you need to essentially contact a project coordinator, and you will find the list of project coordinators on the SEAI website. To get into their application, this kind of energy audit is a requirement, but it's not just simply that. You have to put more information into the application. But the point of it is to demonstrate to SEAI that if you're looking for funding for a particular measure, that you've assessed that that measure is worth it, that it has a reasonable value for money element to it. So these energy audits are quite crucial to that. I hope that answers most of that question. We have another question from Stevie. How is it envisaged that these audit reports will progress towards the realisation of a project? Stevie, I think that's the same question. You know, ideally, is it puts you in a much better position to get into the community grant scheme, albeit with the help of a project coordinator. Sarah has mentioned there that she's disappointed about social enterprises can't avail and that they are the future. I think, Sarah, I hope we could clarify that if a social enterprise is an employer, then they could and they have a CRO number, they could apply to the SEAI scheme. And as Kathleen said, you could also refer to your local enterprise office, again, if you're an employer, and I suppose find out or ask if you're eligible for the Green for Micro. And I know it can be disappointing, but there are still those free supports through the Energy Academy to maybe help plan your own improvements. Okay. So yeah, Stevie's making a point here as well that, like, if there are community buildings that are, you know, local community centres and they're not linked to employment, but, you know, they're used by the community, then you're probably looking back into the SEC Energy Master Plan funding to include those in a community audit.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Stevie. Thank you. I think the benefit of the audit scheme is that you can do that. You're freeing up money that you would be otherwise spending on an energy audit for businesses. You can now, if you go through the SSEA, you get the audit funded that way. You still have the EMP, and you can, as you say, you can like consider the community buildings, consider the non-commercial elements in the community, and supporting them, and you'll have more you'll have more funding available to do that. So I think they do slot together quite nicely. It just covers a slightly different area from that. But yeah, I think it's a great point. Thank you.
Okay. I think we're out of questions and we are 11:30, so practically out of time. And I did say we wouldn't keep anyone beyond the hour. So once again, I'd like to thank Kathleen O'Regan from Enterprise Ireland and Helen Williams from SEAI for your support. Thanks very much for the information provided today. I'd like to thank everyone who joined, and for Stevie and Paul for their help in setting and keeping this going. So we will make this video public later on in the week. Kathleen and Helen, can I share the slides?
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I'll send them over. Yep, no problem.
We'll share the slides which have the various contact details, including my own, and we'll send them out to all of the registered attendees. Okay.
Perfect.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye.